phones off silent and just chit chat, that would be amazing. Hi everyone, thank you all so much for coming today. My name is uOttawa and I am the campus advisor for Allied Voices for Israel, which is also known as UVI. And UVI is an organization dedicated to educating and empowering students across Canada to combat anti-Jewish hatred and stand up for Israel. We have a variety of programs and opportunities for students, such as our educational trips abroad, where you gain first-hand experience and knowledge on prevalent topics. Registration is currently up for our summer 2024 trip, and feel free to come speak to me afterwards to learn more. We are so excited to have you all join us today for our event in collaboration with Hillel, Ottawa. Special shout out to Jamie Swigman, the director of Hillel, Ottawa. And we're so privileged to have Bassem Eid speak to us today. And just a little bit about Bassem Eid for those of you. Bassem Eid is a Jerusalem-based political analyst, human rights advocate, and expert in Arab and Palestinian affairs. He was born in the Jordan-occupied Old City in East Jerusalem and spent the first 33 years of his life in the UNRWA refugee camp of Shuafat. Bassem Eid gained prominence during the First Intifada and worked as a senior field researcher for Bassem, a human rights organization. In 1996, he founded the Palestinian Human Rights Monitoring Group to expose human rights violations by both Israeli and Palestinian authorities. Bassem Eid is critical of the BDS movement and has extensively researched the UNRWA policies. He has received awards for his human rights activism, including the Emil Brunswick Memorial Award and the Robert S. Litvak Human Rights Memorial Award. Bassem Eid has authored publications on human rights in the occupied territories and frequently lectures on the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. And we are so lucky to have him join us and speak today. Thank you, Bassem.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks, first of all, to Avi for the invitation. And I would like to thank each of you for coming and joining us this afternoon. Unfortunately, as you might know, things are totally upside down right now between the Palestinians and the Israelis. The tense in the relationship between the both sides, I never ever noticed that since 1967. Everybody is so scared from everybody. Everybody is afraid from everybody. I have friends in East Jerusalem that they are refused to go to their work in Tel Aviv. They said, might something happening on the way to there, and we might also be killed. So in such situation, putting, in my opinion, the both sides under a very, very, very difficult circumstances. No doubt that the October 7th and the massacre which has been committed by the Hamas almost proves to the world that they are a genocidal movement. The Hamas proves to the world that they are a brutal, barbaric terrorist organization. I hope that the international community will wake up after the October 7th and they will start protecting their countries from such terrorist organization by making legislations considering the Hamas as a terrorist organization. If those countries will start with their own legislations declaring all the Hamas as terrorists, it probably will be able to limit the funding and the support in such kind of organization. Since years ago, I used to say that the Hamas is using their own people as a human shield. I used to say that Israel is using its own rockets to protect its people. But what the Hamas is doing, the Hamas is using his people to protect his rockets. This is how they are hiding their munition, their military capability under hospitals, under mosques, under schools, under churches, under clinics. In such situation, looks like even to fight them, it's very difficult because they are behind the civilians. And unfortunately, the civilians right now are paying a very high price for those people. I want to tell you a personal story. I have a friend living in the north of Gaza in a city called Beit Lahia. His name is Yusuf, and he is a father of 6 children. He is working in a bakery in the city of Gaza 12 hours a day for $2.50. $2.50 for 12 hours work for a family of 8 people. He called me 3 years ago and he said, Bassem, do you know what's happened last night? I said, no, what's really happened? He said, 4 people came to my house in the evening and they told me that they are going to dig a tunnel under my house. But it's not going to be for free. They are going to pay me $50 a month. And they said, what was your answer? He said, my answer to them, please, he tried to dig 4 tunnels in turn to give me $200 a month. Look how they are using the poverty, the poorness of their own people. This is also another method how they are using their own people, as we mentioned. People in the north of the Gaza knows very well that they are living above stores of gunpowder. When Israel told the people to flee from the north to the south, Israel knows exactly what's going above those houses, which tunnels they have over there. The stores of the ammunition is there. Friends, in the past 16 years, the Hamas succeed to build 500 kilometers of tunnels under the Gaza Strip. 500 kilometers. In the meantime, the Hamas never ever tried to build one shelter for 2 million to go to protect themselves from the wars which has been imposed by the Hamas against Israel. And when you are asking the Hamas people, why you didn't build shelters to your people, then they said that the people's responsibility is on the United Nations and on the Israeli occupation. They want Israel to build shelters for the people in Gaza to protect themselves from the Hamas. This is the situation in the Gaza Strip. The foreign minister of Iran, a month ago, visited Lebanon. What he said, among the others, he said that Hamas is ready to release the hostages, but those hostages are going to be transferred to Iran. What? How you can transfer the hostages from Gaza to Iran? Do you have tunnels between Gaza and Iran? But what is the message behind that? The message behind that Iran want to negotiate Israel on the hostages on behalf of the Palestinians. Where is the Palestinian leadership here? I didn't see one Palestinian leader who is trying to stand up and to tell the foreign minister of Iran, shut up and shut your mouth. Looks like that Iran is looking for its own space on this on this war. And the Iranians are the only ones who should have to be accused on what is going in Israel right now. The Iranians' fingers are in the plan which took place on the 7th of October in the south of Israel. The Iranians are the real threat, not only for Israel, not only for the Palestinians, but also for all of the world. These people are trying to move slowly to reoccupy the world. These people trying by their money to create more and more terrorism, especially in the Middle East and especially in the countries which is surrounding Israel. From Gaza to Lebanon to Syria to Yemen. Israel right now under the attack of 4 different parties or agents or traitors, Iranian traitors. What the Arabs can do, I'm not sure that the Arab countries can do anything in the current situation. 2 weeks ago, there was a meeting in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. 12 Arab and Muslim countries met. What was the conclusion of that summit? The conclusion was that the Arab countries and the Muslim countries are going to increase the humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip. I don't think that the problem is humanitarian aid. The problem is the war by itself. The Arabs never ever asked to stop the war. They call for a ceasefire, they call for truce, but not to stop the war. And this is the impression right now in the Gaza Strip. The people in the Gaza Strip believe that what Israel is doing in Gaza right now, almost coordinated by some Arab countries. Looks like that the Arab countries became so frustrated and so tired from the so-called Israeli-Palestinian conflict. But in the meantime, the Arab countries believe that with the existing of the Hamas in Gaza, peace is impossible with Israel. Peace is impossible with Israel. So looks like that they almost agreed that Israel must have to put an end for the Hamas without the intervention of any Arab country. We can see the attitude of Egypt, the attitude of Jordan, even the attitude of those who signed the normalization with Israel 2 years ago under what we called Abraham's Accord. So Israel right now is operating very free in the Gaza Strip. And Israel is the one who is going to decide when this war is going to stop. I believe that Israel at the end will bring the Hamas on their knees. 4 days ago, after the deal for the release of the hostages has been cooked, the biggest terrorist of the Hamas, who is staying in the 6-star hotel in Doha in Qatar, his name is Ismail Haniyeh. He made a speech on the Al Jazeera TV. Al Jazeera TV, by the way, also another TV supporting terror around the world. What Haniyeh said in what he called the speech of the winners, he called it. He said that the enemy has come down to our demands. What are your demands? Tell us, what are your demands? Your demands is that Israel will bring back the thousands of people who has been killed to their families. Your demands that Israel will recover the tens of thousands who has been injured. Your demands is that Israel will rebuild what destroyed in the Gaza Strip. What are your demands? Tell us. We want to know what is the Hamas demands. But Mr. Haniya, we know when you start kissing the shoes of the Israeli Mossad in terms to reach such kind of truce with Israel. We know everything. Even that you are sitting in Qatar, we know what exactly you are doing in Qatar. So these are the people sitting in Qatar want to defend their own people in the Gaza Strip. This is the story of the Hamas. These people became a Qatari agents and an Iranian traitors. It's very clear right now. Iran used to say that we never involved in Gaza. Hamas can decide for themselves. Now the Iranians almost declared that the Hamas is our own agents. The UN, what the UN can do? Just nothing. I think that the UN morally is bankrupt and has lost its legitimacy and its presence. You know what is the main aim of the UN in the 21st century? Is how to create conflicts rather than to solve conflicts. Because if the conflicts will be solved, then all the employees of the UN will be jobless and refugees. This is the disaster of the UN on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Now everybody is talking about what will happen after the war in the Gaza Strip. Who is going to rule the Gaza Strip after the Hamas? I think it's still early to talk about what's after. We want to see the results about the war. Who is going to defeat whom? And if Israel will be able to erase the name of the Hamas from the map. Because the Hamas all the time said that Israel has no right to exist. And this time Israel said Hamas has no right to exist. Personally, I am a person who believes that if Israel will be able to defeat the Hamas, Gaza should have to be ruled by its own people. We don't need a president, we don't need government, we don't need ambassadors, we don't need anything. Gaza Strip is divided to 5 different districts. In each district, there is a big tribe. Let us give each city to its big tribe. People under the tribe respecting each other much more than they are respecting presidents. People in the tribe can obey their own internal rules and obligations. Let us give Gaza to its own tribes, at least for 5 years. After 5 years, we will start evaluate what's really going on. Maybe a charismatic leader will come out after 5 years, and then maybe new elections will take place, and maybe then the peace with Israel will be much easier than these days. This is, I believe, the best solution for the Gaza Strip. Now the West Bank, people are very scared. And the action of the people in the West Bank is completely against the expectation of the Hamas. Hamas thought that after the October 7th, flames will take place in the West Bank. It's not. Because people are still shocked from what the Hamas did to the children and women in the south of Israel. People couldn't believe it. This is not the Islamic precedent. This is not the Islamic attitude. And this is why people are trying to keep themselves far away from what's going on in Gaza. Besides that, since October 7th until today, Israel almost arrested around 3,200 Hamas members, Hamas supporters, Hamas sympathizers in the West Bank. 3,200. That's also contribute to the quiet which almost going on in the West Bank. The economy in the West Bank right now is below zero. And that's making the people very busy right now. You know, in the West Bank, we used to have 200,000 Palestinian workers every day crossing the borders, going to work in Israel and coming back. And that's bringing hundreds of millions of shekels to the West Bank. Now, since October 7, no one Palestinian worker is allowed to enter to Israel. And people talking between themselves. They are saying if it is another 1 week, 2 weeks, probably we can wait. What will happen if this war will continue for another 2 months? Another 2 months, people will starving. The Palestinian Authority has no sources to take care of these people. The Palestinian Authority in the West Bank became like a rehabilitation center for handicapped people. They couldn't offer anything to their own people. So, if this is the situation, so where we are. Now the last message I want here to mention, which is very important, is to the so-called pro-Palestinians. I think that those people almost cause damage to the reputation and to the image of the Palestinians. Those people on the October 7th start dancing and celebrating the massacre in the south of Israel by considering it as a Palestinian victory. So if the massacres of the Jewish people will be considered as a Palestinian victory, in the 21st century, this is the end of humanity. Shame on them to celebrate such kind of thing. Shame on them that they are making it on behalf of us. Whom authorized these people to speak on behalf of the Palestinians? Who authorized them? These people has a completely foreign agenda. their agenda coming from their funders and their supporters, and it's not related to the Palestinian cause at all. Who knows? How many Palestinians knows about the so-called pro-Palestinians who are running from New York to Los Angeles? Who knows about them? Maybe only myself and another two. So what these people are doing? These people are serving themselves. They are not serving the Palestinian cause. Show me what the Palestinians benefited from the activities of those thugs and gangsters. Zero thing. So I can see the Jewish students so scared from these people because they became so violent. I invited to the UCLA, to the campus, for a lecture. A big demonstration took place by the so-called SGP. And the students who invited to come to my lecture were scared to enter to their campus. They are scared. And the organizers decided that they should have to remove the event from the campus to somewhere else. This is unbelievable. But who should have to be accused of that? First of all, the government. Secondly, the administrations of the universities. They should have to put an end for these people. They should have to declare on these people that they are terrorists. And they are supporting terror and supporting Hamas. They never ever supported the Palestinians. Never ever supported the Palestinians. So the one who should have to blame, I met with some congressmen in the United States in Washington. We talked about this issue. What you are trying to do in turn to help those innocent Jewish people here in your country. Why the Jewish people should have to suffer everywhere? For what? By making them suffering, will that benefit the Palestinians? Will that solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict? Of course not. Of course not. We want to make sure that these people are safe, because while they are safe, they will continue supporting the Palestinian cause and supporting the solution of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Don't make them angry. Don't make them upset. We need them. We, the Palestinians, the first one who need those Jews around the world. So that's a very important issue. I think that the universities, the administrations should have to wake up. Otherwise, all the country in the near future is going to suffer from these people. Let me stop right now and open the floor for Q&A. Thank you so much. Yes, please.
If you have questions, can you please go line up behind the microphone so people can hear you clearly?
Dr. Eid, is this on? I don't think it's on, but I'll just speak very loudly.
I'm hearing you.
First of all, I want to thank you for your courage, your dedication, your humanity, your vision,
Thank you.
and I'm voting for you for Chief Administrator of a new Gaza.
Thank you. Thank you.
There's so much to unpack. Now, all of us on campus, in the world at large, are dealing with insanity. As you so eloquently expressed, it's not only an existential threat against Israel, but in fact against democracy. And you suggested that as one option for the future, that instead of a single government managing a future Gaza, that we have, in essence, city-states controlled by tribes. But we have seen that while Israel has reached out to Jenin, Ramallah, Jabalia, and many other cities in the West Bank, inviting university students, high-caliber Palestinians, to come and study free of charge at the University of Hebrew University, that they, within those own cities, won't allow other,
oh, that's much better, other students to come and live in their cities in order to cross into Israel on a daily basis. So perhaps you could just explain or elaborate on that. And then on a much more immediate issue, in light of the fact that the Hamas announced just an hour ago that Shira Bibas and her two little boys, 10-month-old and 4-year-old, are murdered, has yet, of course, to be confirmed by the IDF, but the unspeakable atrocities juxtaposed against the denial of everything on a global basis is just so harrowing that I seek your advice on how we should cope on a minute-to-minute, day-to-day basis with that evil that all of us face on campus.
See, towards the killing of the hostages or the death of the hostages, I couldn't build on the news which is coming from the Hamas. I know about several people that in the past they said that they has been killed from the Israeli airstrike, and then they released them. They find them that they are still alive, while they said that they has been killed. So we don't want to trust at least the Hamas at all until we will have, some other evidence to make sure that what's really happened with those children. Now towards the West Bank, I don't think that Israel is trying to convince the West Bankers to come and to study in the Israeli universities. No. Israel has the Israeli Arabs, and the Israeli Arabs we can see more and more every year joining the universities inside Israel. I was just 2 months ago in a university in Ariel University, which is a settlement, and I saw a Muslim women covered, studying over there. I was shocked to see them, because we are talking about settlements, which is some other international universities almost boycott Ariel University because it's based on a settlement. So if those boycotting them, why they are boycotting them? For the Palestinians? But the Palestinians are studying there. The Palestinians are studying there. So that the international community mind, sometimes it's very difficult to understand it. Now, I know that, unfortunately, we the Palestinians all the time talking in two different languages. One language for the West, and one language is internally. So when I am coming to a Palestinian and talking with him about what is going on in Gaza, the picture that he will give me will be completely different than the picture he will give it to you. Because when a foreigner coming to a Palestinian, first of all, the Palestinians start thinking about his own nationalism. If I want to show you as a foreigner my nationalism, I have to blame Israel. I used to say, if somebody will divorce his wife in Kuwait, we are blaming Israel. If somebody falling from the 4th floor in Saudi Arabia, we are blaming Israel. Why? Because we are seeking nationalism here. And this is one of the problems, I think, of the Palestinian culture, which is the nationalism is based on the culture and on the religion. And that's making, sometimes our message to the international community very weak. And this is why most of the international community don't believe us when we are speaking about a specific story. Take as an example the statistics of the killed people in Gaza. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Each ministry, each leader has his own statistics. Has his own statistics. And the proof of that is what's happened on the October 17, the mistaken rocket, which has been falling in one of the hospitals. 2 minutes after the rocket falling, the Ministry of Health in Gaza declared about 500 people has been killed. Who count them in 2 minutes? Who count them? But 2 days after, the number decreased and they reach 1,170 instead of 500. So when they are talking right now about 15,000, I don't believe that. But this is something right now, it's impossible to know it or to research it. We have to wait for the war to be ended, and then a lot of surprises will come out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thanks to Ellie for bringing.
Yes, please.
Hi, thank you so much for coming to Ottawa and for you to do a speech here. This is
Thank you.
great. My question for you is, I know you talked a little bit about the campuses, but I wanted to know what your thoughts are on the Palestinian protests happening in all around Canada, as well as the entire world, and the Israel protests that are happening. I'm just wondering on your opinion of what's
Yeah,
going on.
as I said, those who consider themselves pro-Palestinians, I don't think that these people really representing the Palestinians. I don't think that these people even supporting the Palestinians. These people much more, taking a side of the Hamas, and whatever the Hamas is doing against the Jews, they consider it as a Palestinian victory, and we have really a very big problem with these people. Sometimes I have to ignore them. Sometimes I am suggesting to ignore these people. Don't look to them. Don't pay any attention to them. That's, by the way, will make them more angry and more boiling. Yeah? Just leave them. Leave them to do whatever they want, but this is not your responsibility, by the way, to stop their activities. This is the responsibility of the government, as I said, and the administrations of the universities. I think that you have the full protection from your universities, and protection all the time to the people can come through legislations. Without such kind of legislations, unfortunately, most of the Jewish students are going to continue suffering in such kind of campuses.
Thank you, and I just wanted to ask just one little question. What are your thoughts on the students or the individuals wearing keffiyehs for the Palestinians?
Kafiyas.
Like the...
Yeah, the kafiyah. I don't think that the kafiyah became any symbolic issue to the Palestinians anymore after the death of Yasser Arafat. Yasser Arafat died and he took all the kafiyahs with him. So I don't know from where these people are bringing the kafiyahs. Kafiyah used to have something symbolic, very expensive. Now they are making it in China in 1 shekel. In 1 shekel, yeah. Yeah, you can take it and clean the tables, in your house with it. I don't think that this is showing any kind of sympathy towards the Palestinians, and I don't think that we, the Palestinians right now, I didn't see people wearing kafiyah, probably since Arafat died in 2004.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Thank you.
Can you explain what in your life, or at what point in your life, you began to diverge from the mainstream Palestinian politics and the Palestinian leadership, and what kind of a reception do you get when you return home to East Jerusalem and to Jericho and the communities that you grew up in?
Thank you. First of all, I am a person, who developed in a refugee camp for 33 years. Secondly, I'm a person who spent over than 28 years of my life searching the rights of the Palestinians. It started with the Israelis and ended it with the Palestinian Authority. I founded the Palestinian Human Rights Monitoring Group in '96. 4 months after the foundation of the group, I was arrested by Yasser Arafat. You know, for my work under the Israelis, he need to give me an award. What is the award? To arrest him. Because to create human rights under the Arab regime, it looks like to commit a suicide. Now, I was very happy that I kept in jail only for 25 hours. And the only one who succeeded to release me in that time, in '96, was the former US Secretary Warren Christopher under Bill Clinton administration. You know, Bill Clinton administration used to have a special relationship with Yasser Arafat in that time. And the Minister of Foreign Affairs in that time picked up the telephone and he told Arafat, you have 5 minutes to release Bassem Eid. I remember that I released at midnight Israel time. Now, all of these together gave me the impression that we, the Palestinians, are really the most lucky people around the world. You know why? Because our conflict with Israel. Imagine if our conflict with China, or with India, or in Africa, who will be care about us? Who will be care about us? Look, since the Oslo Agreement until today, billions of dollars the international community spent on the Palestinians. Billions! What they spent on us in the past 28 years, much more than they spent on the world in the past 2 centuries. So I start realizing that something wrong in our minds here. Something wrong in our leadership. I used to say all the time that the only one who makes the Palestinians suffer is only their own leadership, not the Israelis. Not the Israelis at all. I was in the Arab countries. I met refugees in Lebanon. I met refugees in Jordan. I met refugees in Syria. Our situation as refugees under the Israelis, much, much, much better than it is there. You couldn't believe that a refugee in Lebanon couldn't buy a piece of land, couldn't build a house for himself, because the Lebanese government and uOttawa would like to continue keeping him in the camp as a hostage, until the so-called right of return will come. Which right of return you are talking about? The right of return is never ever applicable. Every refugee around the world knows that very well. So what you are waiting for? But those people have suffered from the governments over there and from the uOttawa itself. This is one of the major problems here. So I start realizing that probably I need a completely different perspective to describe the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Thank you.
Hi, thank you obviously for coming today.
Thank you.
Just wondering, even if Hamas were to be abolished, is there not amongst the inhabitants of Gaza like an ingrained hatred of Israel and what they call the Israeli occupation? And if so, would that not eventually lead to a new Hamas under a different name amongst the Gazan people?
Yeah, I think that this is one of the issues which is almost raised out, that probably after the Hamas, we might receive a more extremist organization related to the so-called the Arab Spring. We can see after the Arab Spring how the Islamic terror starts breeding around the world. But Israel is very aware about that. And Israel almost said that if we will be able to defeat the Hamas, the only one who will continue holding the security in Gaza Strip is only Israel. Israel will never ever will give up with the security of the Gaza Strip. Israel don't want to occupy Gaza. Israel don't want to sit inside Gaza, but Israel want to continue controlling the borders of the Gaza in turn not to allow to any kind of munition to enter to the Gaza Strip. So everybody is aware about that, and this is why I suggested that probably the tribes are the only good solution to start ruling the Gaza Strip in the coming 5 years. Probably that's will give Israel more security, and that's in the meantime will give Gaza more economic prosperity. Yeah.
And just as a follow-up as well, I know from a young age, a lot of Gazan children are taught and almost indoctrinated to hate Israel and to, even beyond that, hate Jews.
Yeah.
What is the solution to that? Even with a tribal government or a government run by the Palestinian people.
Unfortunately, such kind of hatred, much more is coming from the textbooks and the curriculum in the Palestinian schools, which is UNRWA, by the way, is responsible on it. And I am a person who worked a lot about the curriculum and changing the curriculum. I met with the congressmen also in America several times to talk about the Palestinian textbooks and the curriculum in the schools. Unfortunately, this is one of the major problems. Right now, I believe that things can be changed. Can be changed, no doubt about it. If we will take as an example the United Arab Emirates, after they signed the normalization with Israel, within 1 month, they changed all the textbooks in their universities and in their schools. In 1 month, totally changed. Now, much more teaching about peace, about reconciliation, about coexistence, about forgiveness, and this is exactly the curriculum that we, the Palestinians, needed. But I believe that things are totally going to be changed very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you for coming and speaking.
Thank you.
I just have a quick question. What would you say to people that argue that through Israel's military actions, they're perpetuating a cycle of violence, and that could potentially lead to more people who feel similar ways down the road? And do you, from a Palestinian perspective, think that there's anything that Israel could do to be, quote unquote, a better partner in peace for the Palestinian people?
Yeah. First of all, towards Gaza, I hope, all the time I used to say, I hope that Israel will not get blinded by its anger. As I said, it's very difficult to take measures in the Gaza Strip right now to protect or to save the lives of the people, because the Hamas either behind these people or they are under the houses of these people. So that's make the operation, the Israeli operation, in my opinion, more and more difficult. Now, since the beginning of the war, I remember, when President Biden came to Tel Aviv, few days after the war started, one of his interviews, he said that probably the killed Palestinian civilians in Gaza might reach 30,000. 30,000. That's huge. And why? Because these people still used by the Hamas as a human shield. As a human shield. This is the problem. So the problem is the Hamas. Imagine that Israel sent messages and distributed flyers to the people in the north to flee to the south. What the Hamas did? The Hamas sent their own policemen. They closed the entries of those cities and they start pushing the people back to their houses. So the Hamas should have to be responsible while those civilians unfortunately killed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Hi, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
I had a question. I'm too close to the mic. I had a question. There's been a lot of talk about pinkwashing and Queers for Palestine, and I wanted to get your opinion on it as well as the level of actual effectiveness it has in helping Palestinian people and that sort of thing.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have it. Of course, that we have so many extremist people living in the territories. We have a lot of an Islamic charities over there. And the problem is that those Islamic charities are more and more responsible on the kindergartens of the children, if it is in the West Bank or it is in the Gaza Strip. And that's contribute more and more towards violence. I'm quite sure that there are some relatives to those children who are not really aware what they are teaching them in the school. Because those Islamic charities open the kindergarten for free. Just send your child here for free, you don't have to pay. And as you know, a lot of Palestinians would love, to see free things like that. Kindergarten today, if you want to send your son, it might cost you a couple of thousands of dollars a year. So when it is free, then people said, oh, that's really wonderful. But in the meantime, they are not aware what they are teaching those children. So it's unfortunately, it is still going on, and I believe it will continue going on until, some change probably will happen in Gaza, because if any change will happen in Gaza, automatically it will also affect the West Bank.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, let us take last question, please. I have to run away, yeah?
Yes.
I have to run away. We need to call the Uber, please, yeah? Yeah, I'm flying, yes. Yes, please.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For coming and for your amazing talk. I will pick my question.
Can you speak a little bit loud?
Yes. Do you think that there's another way to destroy Hamas and the toxic ideology without violence? Like, for instance, you mentioned earlier pressuring governments to recognize Hamas as a terrorist organization, stop funding, and then changing curricula.
Exactly. This is the only alternative. If you don't want to fight them, you must have to block the tunnels of funding. Looks like that it's impossible to block the tunnels of funding. I don't know where, with the huge technology that we have these days, how they couldn't block the tunnels of the finance of the Hamas. Sometimes I have some researchers working with me. Sometimes I'm going to the bank and they said, I want to send $100 to X in Gaza. Everybody standing in the bank looking to me. Gaza? Whom you know in Gaza? And it is a Palestinian bank. It's not an Israeli bank, yeah? It's a Palestinian. From where you know her? How long she is working with you? Where she is living? What is the name of her father? And we talk about $100. Imagine if Qatar want to donate $30 million in cash. $30 million in cash. And that's one of the biggest mistakes of Bibi Netanyahu. That in the past 5 years, he allowed the Qataris to bring their own private jet from Doha to land in Tel Aviv, full of Samsonite bags full of cash, and an Israeli employees driving those Samsonite bags to the Gaza Strip, to the Hamas. Israeli employees. Why you are doing it? When they asked Netanyahu that time, why you are doing it? He said, first of all, it's not our money. And if that money will bring some quiet to us, let us do it. Let us do it. Mr. Netanyahu, you can buy some quiet by the Qataris dollars, but you couldn't buy the ideology of the Hamas in the Qatari dollars. So those people functioning from ideology, and without blocking the funding and the support, I don't believe that even the war will put an end for them. Thank you so much. Lovely meeting you. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bassem, for taking the time today in your extremely busy schedule to speak to us. It means so much to hear from you, truly. And if you have any questions about Hillel, Ottawa, or Allied Voices for Israel, Jamie's right there in the back, and I'm here. So yeah, come talk to us and learn more about our organizations.
Thank you.